You know what time it is. 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 Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. We are giving you our second video in the Leave Them series. And today we're talking about I want to leave, but I don't want to hurt them. I want to leave, but I don't want to hurt them, right? We're being very specific with some of these titles. I want to leave, but I don't want to hurt them. If you want to know a little bit more about why you're feeling this particular way, then make sure if you're new to the channel, you like it, you share, you subscribe, you click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what we do. You got the minerals, you got the minerals. And stay hydrated for those of y'all. Okay, let's get into the video, okay? I want to leave, but I don't want to hurt them. You know, I've got another story again. This time I'm going to flip it around slightly. If you watch part one, I spoke about how Dominica, this time I've got Kwame in this situation, all right? Again, it's for everybody. It's not just for women, it's for men and women. Okay, so I want to leave, but I don't want to hurt them. Okay, so this is our little story. You can resonate with it if you need to. So Kwame says, Dominica is such a nice girl. We've been dating for 2 years, and she's hardly put a foot wrong. But now I'm starting to feel trapped. I want to leave, but she's just so nice and loving that I find myself backing down. How can I leave them without hurting her? Right? That's what Kwame's asking. He's saying they've been together for 2 years. She's hardly put her foot wrong, but he's starting to feel a little bit trapped. And he wants to leave, but she's just so nice and loving. He finds himself backing down. How can he leave without hurting her? And here's my first point to say to you. How many of us have been in that situation or are in that situation right now, it's probably why you're watching this video, who have been in a relationship where they literally feel like, I want to leave, but I don't want to hurt the other person. Right? You're empathetic, you're understanding, you feel things, right? And you don't want to hurt the other person. They're in the forefront of your mind when you're doing this. And I get it. But let's break down some things as to why I still think you have to make this decision. Number one, I want to say this. You cannot leave and not hurt somebody. It's going to be almost impossible now. There are very few relationships where both parties agree, leave the relationship and don't hurt one another. It's very few. Most of us are going to leave a relationship and one party is going to feel some type of way because they probably never orchestrated the leave. Now, sometimes it happens that both parties are great and they're happy to leave the relationship and go to their respective sides. But in truth, because you're breaking up, okay, you're tearing apart one another, right? Because even though you're not married, you're still conjoining your souls together. You're spending time together, you're getting to know each other, you're sharing your dreams, you're sharing your fantasies, you're sharing your your emotional welfare state at that point in time. You may be even having sex, which probably shouldn't be having, but before marriage and that. But let's say, you're physically intimate as well in terms of you being hugging and spending and being close to one another. You are doing a lot of intimate behavior. So it's going to be very difficult to just leave somebody or for them to leave you and nobody be hurt. So you need to get that out of your mind. You're more than likely going to hurt somebody. You have to be okay with that. Number two, it's about minimalizing the hurt barometer, okay? You're going to hurt somebody. But the next part is understanding you've got to limit the amount you hurt somebody, okay? By making a right choice that is sometimes selfish but selfless, okay? That is sometimes selfish but it's selfless. Right? Because what's going to happen is the longer you postpone this, the more hurt you're going to inflict on another person and the more pain you're going to inflict on yourself. It's torture. Okay? You don't want to be there. And your energy is going to be shown to the other person and they're going to start feeling it. They're going to start feeling you pulling away slowly. And that's going to be even more painful. Right? Number three, I appreciate your empathetic stance, but you need to be selfish to be selfless. All right? Point number two. All right, because I was 1A, 1B, 1C, whatever. What are you feeling? You know, because in this particular story, I put a narrative in there. I said Kwame was feeling trapped, right? Kwame was feeling trapped, and we said about this in part number one. We said, what is your fear? What are you afraid of as to why you're leaving, why you won't leave this relationship? And in this situation, what is it that you're feeling in this moment, right? You want to leave, but you're scared to hurt them. What are you feeling? Are you feeling trapped? Are you feeling alone? Are you feeling stupid? Are you feeling selfish? Are you feeling annoyed? Are you feeling frustrated? Hopeful and wishing that this was a nightmare? Are you feeling guilt? What are you feeling? It's important to identify the emotions that you're feeling at that moment, because oftentimes it's emotion that traps us in situations that we don't need to be in. So we need to identify the emotion and where that's coming from. That's the most important part too, right? Because once we can isolate the emotion, we can isolate the thought, and then we can understand the root of where it's coming from, and then begin to cut at the root if we need to be, right? Because being objective, it needs emotion to be weaved in some shape or form, but being objective uses the logic that we're doing. And emotion and logic don't always correlate sometimes, right? They don't always correlate. They can work together, but they don't always correlate sometimes, right? Point number 3. The feeling of guilt and selfishness are normal, right? You wanting to leave the relationship because you thought the partner was great, or even if you thought the partner was bad, but you're feeling this guilt and this selfishness, it is normal, because you're making a decision which you know is going to affect 2 people. I would be concerned if you didn't feel no way about it, unless the person like cheated you badly and everything like that, blah, blah, blah. But then you wouldn't be at this video, right? I'd be concerned if you didn't feel any guilt or selfishness from this, because you're a human being who is understanding the plight of what they're facing right now. That their decision is not going to just affect them; it affects another party. It's normal to feel those feelings. I want you to understand that it's normal to go through that, right? It's almost like going through the grieving process, and some of you are actually going through the grieving process whilst in the relationship. Some of you are in denial in the grieving process of your relationship. Okay? Some of you are at the angry stage of your grieving process in this relationship. And until you get to the part where you accept it, you ain't leaving the relationship because you're still going through the stages of grieving. Right? Cool. Point number 4. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. In psychology, I realized there's I can't remember what the person's called now. I wish I remembered his name. But he speaks about how human beings want to be 2 things, liked and right. Right? So if we find ourselves in a situation where we're not going to be liked, we can try and avoid it. Because we don't want to be disliked. We want to be liked. We want to be loved. We want to be cared for. We want to be adored. We want to be worshipped. Okay, and that doesn't surprise me. We're created by God, who wants worship, and we're made in His image. Why would we also not want to, in our fallen state, not want to have that level of worship too? So we don't want to be the bad guy. We don't want to be the one that delivers the bad news. We don't want to be the person that's not liked. We like to be those things as human beings. Okay, so understand, I feel what you're saying. You don't want to be the bad person in all of this. I get it. All right. Number 5, ignoring your desire is selfless, but selfish. Right? Ignoring your desire is selfless, but selfish. It denies opportunity for the other person to get the best of you. I said this in my other video. You deciding that I want to leave, but I don't want to hurt them is selfish. Okay? It is selflessly selfish, okay, all right, or it could be that it's selfish to be selfless, right? In the sense of the fact that you are thinking of the other person, great, but what you don't realize is you're not giving them the best you. You're robbing them. Stop robbing them. You've made up your mind. You're already out the door. Emotionally, you've even distanced yourself, right? But you want to make your body follow. It's time to make the body follow. It's time to stop being so selfless, all right, which is actually selfishness, which is actually you just being potentially, this next part, a people pleaser. Sometimes what happens is a lot of people are people pleasers, right? They have people pleasing tendencies. And I want to ask this question, are you sure it's about them, or is it about you projecting that you wouldn't handle this information very well, and thus you are struggling to tell them the truth? Are you struggling because you wouldn't want this truth, and thus you're projecting onto the situation saying they can't handle it and I don't want to hurt them? Who said they would be unable to handle the truth? Now, they will be hurt, but who said they can't handle the truth? You are thinking on their behalf, which doesn't need to happen. All right. And my final point is this: you hurt them more dragging them when you don't care anymore. All right. When you don't care anymore and you drag them along, they're getting hurt even more. All right. They're getting hurt even more because you don't want them anymore, and they're gonna feel it, and they're gonna deep it, and it's gonna cause a further rift and further rupture in their own heart. They're gonna question themselves. They're gonna ask, is the relationship floundering? Am I doing something wrong? When really it's you. So let's deal with that. Don't drag this anymore. Make a decision, right? Don't drag it anymore. Make a decision. It shouldn't be that you're afraid to hurt them. That's why you've not made a decision. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate you, and much love.
Little black book, you know what time it is.